Welcome back to Recruiters in the Microphone. I am super excited about today's interview. Again, we are down in Nocatee. This actually seems to be the new studio.
It's a reoccurring theme, Pete. It's a reoccurring theme.
It really is. And actually, we're on one microphone, so I have to move this over to
me.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. This is the second time, or actually, the third time we've actually been down here. So this is really, really cool. So big shout out to Ragu, amazing. Link. This is a really, really cool studio. So today we're actually given the pleasure in talking to Matt Berseth from NLP Logix and Robert Bound from NLP Logix. So thank you for both of you guys joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. We love hanging out.
And that's actually them. It's not AI. Just want to throw that in there.
Very well played. Yeah. So I'll actually, we'll start with this. Matt, you and I talked a little bit about at our fireside chat. That was probably a couple months ago now. Yeah, at RF Smart. So I'll kind of kick it off a little bit with you. Just give me a little bit more of or give us, the audience, your background and how you got into what you're doing now.
Oh, yeah. So my background, I'll start, a little ways back, but I'll move quickly so we don't spend all day learning about my childhood. But I always say it because it's unique. Born and raised in North Dakota, grew up on a farm. It was actually my grandfather's farm, and my dad had the fortune of taking over the house, and so I got to grow up there. And I really, when I look back, high school, wasn't a good student, didn't really care about grades a whole lot. Got into college, North Dakota State University. 2 years in, really didn't care about grades, had no major declared. My wife, who's a lot smarter than me, she knew right away she wants to be a pharmacist, and sat down with me, and she's like, "I'm going to graduate. You're not. It's going to be a problem." So we actually went to the guidance counselor because my wife recommended that. We had to go talk to somebody who can educate me. And it was, right, you put this in time, it was Y2K was just happening. And the guidance counselor was like, my son is killing it as a consultant. You should get into software.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, back then it was insane. Yeah.
So your entire upbringing, you weren't into computers at all.
So that's the thing. So that's like the part that I did not connect is like I was, I won't say heavy, but like I really liked Doom, like modifying Doom.
Okay, there we are.
Got it. Okay.
Video games.
Now
video games. The first time I got on the internet, it was a DOS-based browser called Kermit, or we were telnetting into Kermit at NDSU, and so I liked computers. I didn't really think that you could have a career doing anything in that area. And then at NDSU, I was a junior, took my first programming class, which was Java, and I don't know, just like lit the fuse. I don't know what the right analogy is, but then I did
lit the fire.
Lit the fire. There you go. Yeah, the fuse.
Lit
the fuse. Good thing the fuse didn't go out. But no, then just got really lucky. So I got through school, it was Great Plains Accounting at the time. They had. They were like a kind of a big deal employer in Fargo. It's a small town, and I interviewed.
Great Plains has become Dynamics, and Dynamics became okay.
So Great Plains Dynamics was a product of Great Plains.
Okay.
So Great Plains Accounting. Great Plains was the name of the company. Dynamics was like one of the flagship products, and so I interviewed there for a internship, and the lady who interviewed me, she was wearing sweatpants and flip-flops, and she interviewed me, and she goes, I need to hire an intern. They told me I have to hire one. You're the first one I've interviewed. I think you'll be fine. You're fine. And I'm like,
She had Cheeto dust on her fingers.
Yeah,
even.
man.
Like,
I gotta say,
Yeah, I think you'll do.
I think it's
Yeah,
exactly
you're all
what
right.
it was. It's exactly. I think you'll do. And so
because Matt was also wearing sweatpants
Right,
at
yeah,
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had flip flops too.
yeah. Well, yeah. I
You're in like a full suit. Like
I'm
a
not
tuxedo,
no. I'm
like
not
Step
known
Brothers. That
for
would be
dressing
awesome.
up. Yeah, everybody knows that I'm not a great dresser, but just got really lucky, and then started at Great Plains, and within months, Microsoft had acquired us, and got amazing opportunities. Worked on .NET before it was 1.0. Worked on Visual Studio 2005. Worked on the early versions of what did they call the source code repository? After Visual Source Safe, but before Team System. There you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my entry into software, and just I feel like I got really lucky along the way. And
I would say that's pretty lucky.
it was very lucky. Yeah, I mean,
You should find that lady that hired you and say thank you.
I
to
should,
Where you
yeah.
are
Like,
right now.
Right now, all I can say is the lady in the sweatpants was the gentleman that gave Charlie Bucket that gold sovereign.
the golden ticket.
I
The token.
Yes.
That then
Yes,
he
that
bought
led
that.
to the gold.
He
Yeah.
bought that
So,
chocolate bar with that.
I hope Miss
With
Lady
those-
you're listening to this. So we actually
You know
thank you
what?
for gracing
Sweatpants
us
for the
with-
win.
You know what?
Yeah.
Sweatpants for the win.
I will send her the link because she was an amazing boss and leader, and she put
And
everything.
you've kept in contact with her then.
I have, and she's
of course you
amazing,
have.
Matt.
Yeah, she's put
That's like your
everything in
second
my
grade
growth.
teacher.
Yeah,
You know what
it
I'm saying?
was-
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really cool that you kept in touch with her. Yeah. So, whomever you are, thank you for gracing us with Matt.
I don't know if everyone would agree with that, but
All right. Well, cool. I'm going to shift over to Robert. So, tell us a little bit about. I mean, you got a tough act to follow. So I don't know if you have a Miss Tisdale out there, or whatever her name is.
No, I do not. Let's see. I'll start a little later in my career, I guess. So when I first got interested in computers, I was let me back up. I was dead set on managing resorts and restaurants and bartending and just having a good old time. It was a great area to be in. And then I think I got tired of being hospitable at some point. And my brother was like, you should get into computers. This is about the same time, about 98 time frame.
Because hospitality and software is
Completely different.
Yeah.
Yes, completely different. It did help. So I joined, I ended up taking a fast track, went to just one of those 9-month programs. I was going to be a network technician. I came in, I did an internship at a company called PSS World Medical here in town.
Oh,
they're no longer PSS. They're no longer here.
Exactly.
I think it's
They
now,
got bought by McKesson.
Yes.
Very small
Yes.
company called McKesson.
Yep.
Never heard of him. Yeah.
So great company, a bunch of great people that I worked with, and a lot like you. I wanted to be a consultant. I wanted to get in there and be a consultant. That's where all the money was. And then I had all these consultants that were coming in, becoming full-time workers, and they're like, don't get into consulting right now. It's not a good time. Keep your full-time job, because 2000 was over. It was time to move forward. But so I started as an intern. I rolled out a software, went out on the road and trained a bunch of sales reps on how to use the software. It was a custom CRM system. And then I ended up getting the job out of 20 interns, and was supporting the software at 9:00 at night. And I said, you know what? I don't want to support this stuff. I want to build it. So that was kind of the spawn of my career. I also went to Microsoft. I did 5 years at PSS, joined a company here in town doing consulting for a Microsoft Gold partner. Ended up working with MCS and joined them for 8 years out in Dallas, Texas, and then came back.
So when you were at PSS, was that prior to you getting into building software? You were just doing support when you were at PSS?
No, so I did support, and then I ended up taking on just little side projects and ended up
Within
getting recruited
PSS?
Within PSS. Yeah.
The only reason I asked is because I knew a lot of people at PSS. Jimmy Herf, were you?
The name sounds familiar. Was he in sales?
No, he would have definitely been in the software side. But Jimmy Herf's one of my favorite people in the world. So just, shout out to Jimmy.
Nice little plug there.
Hopefully he'll be on the show someday. Yeah.
So I did get to finish up and build the software that I went out there and was training all the sales reps on. So there was that. So
Very cool. Very cool.
Good.
So how did you get into NLP?
An email came across my desk. I came back to
A
Jacksonville.
recruiter?
Recruiter.
Gotcha.
It was a recruiter.
A little plug for recruiters out
great
there.
recruiter.
Whoever that is, we shout out to you.
You know what? Whatever she did a great job because normally that stuff comes across
There,
my emails.
there's some
and
good ones. There are not a lot of them, but there are some good ones. Yeah.
So I just happened to see this small company here in Jacksonville. And I've been back to Jacksonville working remote. All my customers were New York or Chicago. Mm-hmm. You know, my team were always dispersed, so it was just Teams meetings and kind of back up on that one. Actually, I'll tell the story. So there was the one time that I got to go travel with this when I was doing an independent contract. I went to South Bend, Indiana, for a project out there, and I've been talking with this guy for over a year and a half. You know, we were just really close. We constantly we did 48 hours together, just heads down coding, and go out there, and I'm picking him up from the airport, you know, and he comes over and looks over at the car like, is this the guy? Is this my ride? And I'm looking up going, he looked a lot taller on Teams, you know. So,
yeah, Matt's a little tall. So yeah,
it wasn't that tall. No,
right.
It was I don't know where I was going with that, but
yeah.
It's been
So a recruiter got you to NLP, so they kind of caught your attention, which is what
she caught my
recruiters are
attention.
supposed to do, to kind of sell who they're working with. So little known company within Jacksonville, NLP.
Within Jacksonville, and I was intrigued. I was like, oh, what's this AI ML stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You know, let me see what they're all about. So I went and looked at them on the website, and I was like, that seems pretty cool. Let me go check them out. You know, I haven't worked with anyone in Jacksonville in years.
And you lived here, so
I lived here for
might
6,
as well.
you know.
Yeah.
And what year was this?
2020 maybe? No. Yeah, maybe the end of 2020, 2021.
Okay, so right around the pandemic, kind of that was a great year.
It was right after.
So it was awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So I got offered the job. I went to Costa Rica, and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to take it. So
Costa Rica.
I came back.
Yeah.
I put my notice in while I was on vacation, so I actually gave a 3-week notice instead of a 2-week. So, you know.
And so when you came into NLP, where title-wise, where did you come in the pecking order?
So I was brought in as head of software.
Okay.
Mainly for an enterprise SaaS solution that we were building. So,
Okay.
Yep.
And where were you at when he got brought in, Matt? Pecking order-wise.
So I've been the CIO really since day zero.
Yeah.
And I think Robert didn't report to me right away, but you did for a little bit. Yeah. And I'll just say it. That was the last vacation Robert's been on, the Costa Rica 4 years ago. Ever since then.
You chose a good spot.
I don't think, no. But yeah, no, when Robert came on, honestly, we brought a lot of good capabilities that we just didn't have as a company, and then grew the team, so brought on the skills we need, and then the process and the all of the good best practices that come along with that were all leveled up.
So with that, I'd love to know, what are your best practices? Like from, because you do have a disparate system, right? So your engineers are all over, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. They're not just in Jacksonville. They're pretty much remote and all over the world.
Today, the majority is here in Jacksonville. So we
Awesome.
do have a global
Okay.
presence as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
And we do have a few
Absolutely.
that are still remote, not as many.
Okay.
As these days.
So going back to that first question, what kind of processes did you change, and what is your theory on how to manage software engineering? Because that in itself that's herding cats, as we all know. So what's your theory on it?
Yeah, that's interesting. So managing is definitely not my strong suit. I'll say that. Leading a project, no problem. That's what I did, consulting for years. I'd say best practices are really just around the quality and the discipline of the developers.
Okay, so pause on that. What is your difference between managing a project and managing a team? What do you think is the difference?
One-on-ones and all the professional development stuff.
All the human aspect of it, right? Like as a managing a project, you're responsible for it. Now I'm responsible for people that are responsible for the results.
I just say that when we talk about that at our organization, it's really you're leading people and you're managing the project. And you manage the things, but the people you got to lead. And sometimes your project team are your reports, but that's not always the case. That's not the case at our place, and so we kind of distinguish those two, kind of along those two lines.
One of our former interviews, and one of Pete and I. One of our favorite people, Doug Leby, CEO of Beeline. Doug,
you guys do work with them, right? Don't you? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, we Beeline is an awesome. We were just talking ahead of time, right? And there are gems in Jacksonville that maybe aren't always talked about enough. Quite honestly, I put Beeline at the top of that list. Just a gem of a company, great
1,000%,
culture, fantastic people. And we're fortunate that we do a collaboration, even outside of the corporate setting. They come to our events, present our customer conference. They invite us to some of the stuff they're doing, and it's just it's awesome having business partners like that in the city.
So I guess the reason that I brought that up is based on you saying that managing your people. And that being like a top priority. Doug has set, I think it's 9. Is it 9 principles?
9 principles.
Okay.
Yes.
Doug has these 9 principles that, and Pete and I both have worked at Beeline before. And the first thing that is literally shoved down your throat are these principles. This is who we are. And because he put such a high demand standard, on the well-being of the institution internally, from coworkers and colleagues, and in managing, and always assuming positive intent before you point the finger and stuff like that. So I guess what I'm asking is does NLP have a couple principles that you right out of the gate, you're oh yeah, this is a principle in regards to someone that doesn't necessarily love to manage people, but when you have a recipe, a principle list of things that kind of those guidelines that are oh, this will help you out because these are our standards, but it's not do this. It's no, if you do this, and that's kind of if you do this, if you approach this conversation or this problem with these principles, it's not necessarily a problem. It's we just haven't figured out a solution yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, the top one, and everyone that works for us will know where this comes from. It comes from Ted. Everybody would know that at Logix. But the one top one I would say is, I versus we. We.
Yep.
You really, in an organization, you really don't do anything from the standpoint of it's we all are in this, unless we have to take accountability for something that didn't quite go right. And then you take accountability for that.
Yeah, you take ownership of
the mistakes, yes. But the victories are all celebrated together because
1,000%.
We all are charging up this hill, even if someone may write the code, but to get to that point, the product team was involved, support was involved, sales was involved to get the deal in the door. It really is a full company. I used to look at it back in my development days. This is going to sound kind of petty, but when I think for a spell I did some back end development, and I was always just a little bit bitter that the front end guys took all the credit because the pixels that touch the screen seem to get the credit
because you can see it.
Yeah, you can see it, right? Yeah.
So look at that button.
Yeah,
that button slaps.
It's a button.
It's blue.
that thing slaps.
It's incredible, right? You should see the stored procedure I just muscled through. Come on, guys. But
I have no idea what it does, but it's beautiful.
Man, they are clicking the hell out of that button.
But that's my top. Our two might have different one, but the I versus we, if I could instill culture in one kind of a thing, Doug's got 9. And I'd love to see Doug's 9, honestly. I'm sure they're incredible.
It's actually in one of our reflection episodes coming up. So
Okay, good.
we will be sharing that.
Yeah.
But even our Smart has 5. So most companies have those kind of principles that everybody kind of like falls into and falls in line with, right? That that they follow. So going back to so how many employees do you guys have now?
So we look at, I'd say 135 to 140, somewhere in there, total headcount.
Yep. And most are engineers?
No, a lot are. I would say, well, first of all, geography-wise, I think probably 85 or so here in Jax.
85 here?
Probably 85
Wow,
here in Jax.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Like again, this podcast, based in Jacksonville, we're really very interested in highlighting a lot of the Jacksonville tech community.
Yeah.
That's amazing that there's 85 here. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. And then, we have a few remote throughout the U.S., like R2 would say. I call Robert Brown R2, so I guess we should describe that. So his name is
so R2, that's your name. I'm sorry that I actually introduced you as Robert Brown. No longer that's the name, right? So
it's a Star Wars reference, but we can talk about that later.
We love it. We actually, one of our previous interviews is a guy named Dr. Bob, and now we found out yesterday that his name with his family is called Bobby. So we call him Bobby now. He gets really excited. So you're R2 now.
He's R2.
He's Bobby. That's it. So.
But I don't know. A lot of the engineers report into R2. Robert. Yeah, so I'll let him.
Yeah, so R2, go for it.
Thanks, Matt. I'm going to live that one down. I actually had the option to go with Bobby versus R2. And,
did we give you that choice? I regret that.
I had the choice. Normally you don't get a choice, but I just couldn't do the Bobby Brown. I did that all through high school. So.
Yeah. At least they didn't call you T-Bone for, or Coco.
Yeah, we reserve
Seinfeld
those for
reference.
other people.
That it is. Yet again. Yeah.
As far as principle, I mean, I think you nailed it. I think that's the biggest principle that we live by. The other one is just quality from the beginning. Whether you're sending an email out, whether it's an SOW, any kind of documentation, a lot of times that first interaction with the customer is going to be from an email and probably a document. So, and if they're not seeing the quality in at least that, and people, Matt, I tell you, I'm extremely I'll start just formatting a document. That comma's in the wrong spot. Hey, these should be headers. These need to be subheaders. Put a table there.
So you don't use ChatGPT to do your documents? No, I'm just kidding.
But I can definitely tell when someone does.
Yeah, absolutely, as most can.
So, you mentioned a couple companies that you worked for before you got to NLP, and speaking to different principles, not throwing any of the other companies under the bus, but where would you say that you've learned, been surprised, disenchanted? Not in NLP. I'm not putting you on the spot, but in regards to the different companies and the different principles in your journey. What if it wasn't the now principle that you're founded on in NLP? What was a previous principle that really helped you in getting to that phone call with NLP? And it's like, the reason that they hired me might have been because this is one of my fundamental principles that I follow.
Right. That's a great question. So I'd say my one of the things that kind of held with me throughout my consulting years, and I'd say Microsoft was probably where I kind of cut my teeth on consulting in general, just working with large customers. But I had an engagement manager one time kind of gave me an analogy which stuck with me. I might have used it at NLP a couple times. When you're working with customers are moving 1,000 miles a minute. And we had one customer that I was working with, and they were no different than any other customer. But his analogy was, this customer is kind of like a kid running with scissors. You can yell at your kid and say, no, don't do that. There's a reason why you shouldn't. With the customer, you can't say that. You have to run beside them and try to convince them to give you the scissors.
That is really good. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that just stuck with me. And it's kind of held true, right?
Just hand them to me.
Yeah, just give them to me.
Hand them over. I'll take those for you.
So coming from consulting, right? So, and what are the, I mean, obviously the customer is quote unquote always right. So how have you guys kind of tackled certain things, being that, Israel and I have come from a recruiting background, right? Like we work with many, many different organizations. But how have you guys tackled certain things when you know that a customer, quote unquote, is wrong? How do you convince them that what your solution is right?
That's a tough one. You wanna take it?
I mean, I can say
Matt, of course, takes this.
no. I mean,
Yeah, good move, R2. Good move.
I mean, yeah. I don't know that I have necessarily a great answer, but I mean, I would say some of the things that that we do is, well, let me say that I would say that one of the things that is a challenge, at least in the field that we're in, especially when we're building things like algorithms and automation, is if you think about, like, to me, scope is totally different because, and I'm gonna trivial or simplify this. If someone's building a web page or adding tables to a database, like, it's kind of a linear process. Like, hey, there's two buttons, there's two text boxes, it's connected. Okay, I see.
Yeah, I need the button blue.
I need blue. Make that right. And
Right.
So scope is. I know that's not everything that's to it. R2 would be the first one to tell me that. But like, it's kind of this. It's kind of it's easier to quantify what you need and when you're done with it.
Right.
And the thing that we hit on the modeling side is that scope is actually what we might call accuracy or quality. And that's really tricky because, you're trying to predict something. It needs to be actually, before the project starts, you don't really know how accurate it needs to be to deliver a said ROI.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to know that up front.
Right. And as somebody estimating and creating the product, you also don't know if 90% is actually achievable. You got a gut, but you're not sure, right? And so it's this dance of walking that curve of scope and understanding when you're in that diminishing return. And honestly, it's really tough to communicate that to a customer.
That I was going to say that because I do think that so are the majority of the customers that come to you guys, do they have like a broken system and they want you to quote unquote fix it, right? And how do you convince them to do that? Right. Like it is, like you said, it's a dance.
Yeah.
Like it's a collaborative approach, which you said, like, I can solve maybe 90% of your, but you've got to give a lot.
Yep.
Right. So how do you convince them to kind of do that? Because sometimes if something's like that, I was actually just talking to someone else about this the other day. If my refrigerator's broken, I'm just going to give them the expert to fix my refrigerator. I'm not going to help them. I'm not going to do anything with them.
Yeah.
But as like into your, in the business that we're all in, how do you get those people to kind of give you the time of day to help with that scope, to help with the process and to find the answer collectively?
Yeah. I mean, I would say one is, do we get broken systems? We do a lot of times.
Of course.
It's broken. And actually that's not a bad place to start because we can, we got a great team and we can fix it, right? Yeah. That's an awesome opportunity. And then on the other one, like a lot of times what it is someone's looking for, efficiencies or features that their teams just can't build. Right. And in those cases, it is, it's not so hard to sell it because, you can paint this picture about where they want to be and they agree with where they want to get to. So a lot of times
they're usually telling you.
They're
like,
telling
this is my North Star.
Right.
Get me to that.
I want to get there. And then actually the secret sauce is to have them be part of the journey because when they're going through the journey with you, then they're as invested as you guys. It's not us and you. It's like we're collaborating.
Right.
You've got ideas, we've got ideas, and we're getting there together. And then, I feel like that is something I think our team does really well.
And in some cases, right, my North Star is now my South Star, but it's collaborating with you to figure that out.
And honestly, that's something I think our team does too well is if we get a month into it and your North Star changes, we're here, man. We're like, great. We're
We'll
ready
shift
to
with
adapt.
you.
This whole agile, we're wanting to shift with you. We don't want to take you to the place you thought you wanted to go, but you realized you didn't. We want to get you to the promised land. So I feel like we do a good job too of at least how we operate is staying engaged with the customers, understanding their business as well as they do, and building them the right solution.
That's a really good call out to NLP. I'm glad to hear you guys do that, because Israel and I have both worked for consulting companies before, no names, but they were, you do the discovery session. I define what your North Star is, and then I get to that point. And whether or not it's in 6 months or 3 months, I delivered what you told me to deliver, and that's on you whether or not you want to do that. So it's kind of cool to hear that the North Star can move, and you're moving along with it.
And I'm
99% of the time, I'm assuming it was going to move.
Right. Yeah. And that's the fair point. And yes, you need to deal with the contract and finance. You can't, somebody says you can't just be the nice guy and just adapt. You got to make sure you got everything else squared away. But, I was talking to a prospect the other day, and they were kind of just their current engagement. They're like, they did the discovery. They're on the path to what we agreed on. They're 75% of the way there. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the business. And we know we actually don't want to get there anymore, but that path is happening. What can you guys do to come in and help get us back to where we need to get to?
So that's a great follow-up question, right? So because both Israel and I worked in consulting, and you guys are in consulting now, once you deliver what you've promised, what does NLP do for continued support? How do you guys make sure that the product that we delivered is scaling and obviously offering the value back to the company?
That's a great question. So that's one area I think NLP is definitely unique in. I worked for a couple different consulting firms, and none of them were there on the support side. Microsoft did support, but that was a much different scale.
Well, most don't, right? Because I delivered what I did. I made my money.
You deliver it and you leave.
See ya.
In fact, that's one of the things that I'm grateful for at NLP is I actually got the opportunity to deliver something and then watch it get supported and maintained and monitored, right? And so we do have a whole support division, client operations, that does the monitoring, does all the support for our hosted systems that we deliver for our customers.
Wow.
So
that's awesome. On that topic, what's the most challenging product or project that you guys can both answer this question? Either at NLP or before, but one that really kept you up at night and, you never really got any sleep over it. So what was one? I'll start with you, R2, because the microphone's closer to you. So sorry, buddy.
A challenging product. This is the one I always say is my most successful failure. So we had a large, big box store. I won't say their name, but we had a three-way partnership. This was at Microsoft, and we were doing something with the Windows embedded team, Motorola, and MCS, the team I was on. So our job was to go in and essentially rewrite all these mobile apps, take them off the Windows platform, and make them platform agnostic. And my team did a phenomenal job. We rewrote all this stuff, 16 applications. And then the customer decided, you know what, we don't want to go with Windows embedded. We don't want to go with Motorola. They completely switched gears on us. So the partnership changed, obviously. My team was done. We did what we had to do. They brought that work in-house. But to your point about consulting, right, we got them there, and, they decided to change directions. Unfortunately, it was without us. So.
Usually is. You're the last person that actually they would talk to.
Yeah, and I should say too, when it comes to bringing on new clients and new deals, we tend to have a path to get to support. I don't know times when we plan on taking on projects just to do the build, but not to stick around for the long term.
That's awesome.
And I honestly never remember a time where we didn't really think like that. Like it's always, software, especially, I don't know if it's because of some of the AI ML stuff where, you have to build in this feedback loop constantly. R2 had just mentioned it, that as a consultant, you built and then handed off and walked away. Now you build and then you get to be there the next month to hear about how the opportunities,
how it's
your
working.
team, how's it working? So
yeah. I mean, obviously, and spatial computing itself is changing on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, I mean, things are moving faster than it's ever moved. In my career, that things have ever moved. So, but yeah, I mean, so we always build with supporting and maintaining and enhancing kind of in mind. But I would say, we've built some amazing stuff just at Logix that I think the team would be pretty proud of. I'm trying to think. The question was, what's the one?
What's the hardest? But
the hardest.
What's the hardest one that you worked on? But also, now that you're talking about it, what's the coolest one? Like, what's the one that you're most proud of? Like, you look at it like that.
Yeah,
I'll hang my hat on that one, and I can literally retire.
Yeah,
knowing that I built it.
That's my Eagle Scout merit badge right there.
Yep. Yeah. So I would say the hardest one, and I'll actually say the hardest ones. I'll just say in general, the hardest ones are the ones where the customer expectations are very not aligned with what reality is. And I think right now in the mode of AI for everything, there's this thinking of, well, if ChatGPT can summarize my emails, it can, do this other crazy thing, right?
It should mow my lawn.
It should
really do everything.
It should do everything. So those in general, I think are hard. But I gotta say the one that, and I hesitate to mention, this is like talking about your favorite child because there's so many good things we've done. But I'll name just a couple. I gotta say the SaaS product that R2 came on to help lead the development of. I mean, that's managing $4 billion annually in scholarships for the state of Florida. Just a massive application with a huge.
That's cool.
Huge impact, honestly, on the state of Florida.
You're welcome, students.
Yeah, I mean, it's so we're very proud.
Hopefully,
of that.
my daughter's listening.
Some of the other ones, like I think that sometimes there's back office systems that don't get enough notoriety. But we have one client where we've got 750 RPA bots running 24/7. And I saw the stat. Oh, I wish I could remember the exact number. We calculated the number of annual FTEs that those bots are replacing, and it's like 65 FTEs of labor of pointing and clicking and doing things that have been automated. Imagine the ROI on a system like that. So those two come to mind.
You're making the CFO and procurement pretty happy.
Well, you know what? Yeah. That's the thing. Like that's, those deals are great because I feel like if you're selling to the CFO, which I think to us is a great win because you're talking ROI. And I feel like those are the deals.
Numbers don't lie.
You can say, let's make some assumptions, spread this thing out, and let's see, if it makes sense or not. Those are great deals.
Going back to the principles, I would say Matt just kind of hit the nail on the head there with the ROI. And I think I hear Matt say more time, probably 5 times a day, what is the value we're providing to the customer? So quit picking a technology just because it's cool. And is it providing value to the customer? So back to the values that the principles.
Yeah, that should be a major principle for any consulting company is like what value adding back. Like it's technology agnostic at the end of the day. Like it doesn't matter what it's built in. Is it going to be used, and is it going to add value back to the business? Well, so Israel and I were actually having lunch before this. I'm going to actually leave it to him because he had a question for both of you guys on how you handle differences between you. So I'm going to hand it over to the man, Swanson.
Okay. So I guess my big question is especially in technology. And things that, especially with the stuff that we've even talked about, the ROI. And yes, when it's when the ROI has not been established, you don't know yet. So you have these ideas, you've whiteboarded, you've done all these things, and you have differing in opinions, and now you have potentially two teams that they've bought on to. This is how we should build it. This is how we should build it, and then you bring it to the Wizard of Oz, and the man behind the curtain goes, "We're going to go with this." How do you maintain peace among the brethren, and not adding strife? A, when that one gets picked, and then B, when that one gets picked, and then halfway in the build, you realize it went wrong. And then the other team, instead of them going, "Haha, told you so," how do you keep everybody, first of all, on board with the one? Again, nothing's been proven yet. You've got your theories. You've got, if this works, then yes, this could be the ROI. If this works, then yes, this could be the ROI. Okay, we chose this. And that team has to just, grin and bear it and be like, okay, we're on board because we're a team and we're doing it. And then you shift. Kind of like when you were saying you were consulting. Well, oh yeah, we're doing this whole Motorola thing. No, just kidding. We're not doing that at all. We're going this way. But in this situation, y'all are a consulting company. You're in it to win it together. It's not the company that's changing. It's y'all are blueprinting something. And then internally, then you still have to go to the customer and be like, we started this. Sorry, we're shifting gears because we just realized. So that's the premise of it all, but keeping everybody happy and still team-minded and not, and that even goes to you, to Matt, and R2 level. So give me some pointers there. The NLP way.
No, I mean, to me, I would say, I guess that's the my opinion. That kind of just comes down to the leadership of the organization. And I'll take your example. If R2 and I have a different approach on something, and I know R2's track record. He's fantastic, so I'm gonna already have a bias towards his idea. But at the end of the day, it's not his idea. It is our idea. And when we deliver that message to our team, it's not his idea versus anyone else's idea. It is, we're all behind R2's idea.
Yeah, you're going back to the we.
And let's get behind it. And you guys are college football fans?
Yes.
Yes. So, preseason poll has Georgia number one probably, right? You get 7 weeks in and they got 2 losses. Guess what? We can all change our minds, and it's not even an emotional or a personal. It wasn't R2's idea. It was our idea, and we got new information. And let's go change now that we've learned something new. Let's pivot. Right. Yeah, So that's So at the bottom line is R2's great ideas are actually our ideas.
No, but I love that you went down the college football route, because I guess to dive a little deeper on this, and I know it's leadership down. However, then you have certain engineers that are watching this also. Like, Georgia's overrated. And then all of a sudden they do lose, and they're like, knew they were overrated. How do you, because they were never a fan to begin with. I mean, I'll be the first one to say, I hate the Dogs. Go Gators. So there's that. Apologies to any dog fans out there. I'm not going to say go Georgia, but, prayers are with you.
Yeah, so I'd say, have you seen how tall this guy is?
Yeah.
I'm we're going with his idea.
Yeah, fairly intimidating. Yeah.
But no, to in all seriousness, when we go into design sessions or iteration planning meetings, it's the team making the decision. It's the team doing the design. If you don't speak up, then guess what? You have you can't complain.
You're falling in line,
You're falling
right?
in
Like, yeah,
line.
that's it.
Yeah, silence is acceptance at the end of the day.
Yeah, silence is acceptance. That's good.
So somebody has to come up with the design. If everyone's going to be quiet, someone's going to come up with that design, and everyone's going to agree that this is what we're doing. And I think that's just how we do it. There's really and then from a leadership perspective, we might have back and forth behind closed doors. But when we come up with the decision and agreement, that's how we agree. That's just how it is. When we go out on the floor, we're in agreement and we back the other person up. So.
Yeah. So don't fight in front of the kids, basically. It's just parenting 101. That's one of the things that, you just don't fight in front of the kids. Like if there's a disagreement. I also like to think of it as, and to your point, R2, if you're writing a story or say a movie or whatever, and you have this team and everybody has these ideas of character development, and someone might have had the idea for the character, like, oh, we're going to call him this, that, whatever, but then they don't speak up on how that character is developed, and then it comes out and they're like, man, it's like, well, thank you for the name of the character and the idea, but you never gave us the backstory. So you can't complain that he came from North Dakota and not from Kansas. Like so.
So we're coming up on time. I want to make sure. So I know, Matt, you and I have talked a lot about the community development in Jacksonville. And obviously Israel and I are really big into that and kind of building this up. So kind of in closing, what advice would you both give to someone that's actually let's just start from someone that's even considering computer science? Like go back to Mrs. Tisdale, right? And she hired you as an intern.
Yeah.
Like what kind of advice would you give someone that's actually even thinking about it, and why should they think about it? And then also kind of going back into why do consulting as opposed to potentially even working full time for somebody, or where should they go first?
And if I can add to that also, especially in the space that y'all are in, with the technological advancements rapidly going as fast as they are, for someone to get into computer science now, to end Pete's question and then answer, how do you stay ahead of this technological wave to where it doesn't just pummel you and you're just fodder?
Yeah. I mean, so one thing to me, advice, take it or leave it, but go get your computer science degree. I really think that's a great idea. And when you're doing it, I was teaching this last fall in college here in town, and
at JU.
At JU,
yeah. My daughter goes to JU.
Okay.
So, yep. Fins
right.
up.
Fins up.
Yep. Got it. Yeah.
And I told the class,
That was a horrible dolphin.
Is that what it was?
That's actually staying. That's not edited at all. That was Anyway, keep going.
But
Fins up. Yes, got it.
I told my students, I said, you can very easily use ChatGPT to solve these homework questions, but and I'm not going to go, how am I going to fish that stuff out? But, you get what you put into it. And I think computer science, be curious, understand fundamentally how computers work, understand fundamentally how networks work. Just get those basics. Mm-hmm. Those aren't going to go anywhere, in my opinion. I think
understand what the computer is doing. Understand, when you're asking it to do something.
I mean, I love I'm sure y'all have been there, but everything that happens when you request a web page, if you go through everything, a client server, and you can just get an intuition for what exactly is happening or what approximately is happening. I think there's so much to dig into there. It's a very exciting area. And on the we just said it, like technology is changing so fast right now, but I do not believe. I think we're in the second inning of AI, of what AI means and how it works. Like don't.
I don't even know if we're in the second inning.
Yeah, probably not.
I think we're like
so don't think it's
maybe
past
2
you.
outs first inning. That's crazy.
I agree. And so the thinking that it's too late, I missed it.
No,
The other thing is, I don't think, you can get overloaded. I call it the AI quicksand, where it's like there's so much coming at me. How can I stay on top of all of this? I'm just sinking, getting behind. I mean, I just think most of that is most of the stuff that's coming out is noise.
I was going to say the same thing.
And
noise.
try to find a few areas that you're interested in, that you think have promise, and do a side project or stay active in the area. So I'm very bullish. I tell my kids, my son's starting at NEAST on Monday, and pay attention in math and science, and see if you got an aptitude. Go get that computer science degree.
Would you recommend, and that's part of the second or third question that we had in there, would you recommend someone to go full time into a company, or should they go into consulting, or does it really matter just to get the knowledge?
I mean, I love, probably why I love our business is because you get to see, on the consulting side, you get to see so many different businesses, good, bad, and different.
Oh, yeah.
But you get to see
Agreed.
so much. I think that you can learn a tremendous amount by learning the good and bad, or learning the good habits, seeing the bad habits of a lot of different things. So I like the consulting space, but I never did it before Logix. So R2's going to have a better perspective than me on that front.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thought. So consulting, and like I said earlier, until NLP, I never saw a project. I never had to support a project, right? I didn't know what it meant, really. I mean, back in my early days, I'd supported a project, or a product. But I would agree with Matt to kind of back up a little bit. So get the foundation, right? There's certain aspects that just aren't going to change. If you're planning on getting into this degree or into this field, be prepared to be a continuous learner. Like, there's no stop. Once you stop learning, you're done. I remember when I got my intern, when I first got promoted, or sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that there was a thing that I actually did one time a couple years ago at our Smart, where it's like I did this deck. It's like comfort is slow death. So if you're comfortable, you're going to die, right? Yeah. So in computer science, you're dead in a day if you're comfortable.
You become a dinosaur. So when I actually got the job,
I'm still doing COBOL, so that's good.
So
joking.
On the COBOL,
not against COBOL programmers. It's great. It's still out there.
We still have it out there. But I met a COBOL programmer when I first got offered the job after my internship, and I was so excited. I went out celebrating, and there was a lady sitting beside me, and she was like, "Oh, you must be celebrating." And I told her, "Yeah, I just got this job doing, just got into being on the help desk." And she was like, "Oh, good for you. I just got laid off after 20 years. And I'm like, "Well, what do you do?" And she was like, "I'm a COBOL programmer." So, back then is when I made that decision. I was like, "Holy, this is no joke. You
got to keep evolving.
Just keep on learning.
Yeah.
There's no changing." So,
yeah.
Get the foundation, continuous learning, get passionate about something and dig in deep on it, but then don't be afraid to build that breadth. You got to know what's around it. Like Matt said, the networking side, that's not changing.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really good call out too, because I always tell that to candidates is, not just continue learning, but from your point, networking. Like, get to know the network is going to support you, and you're going to build yourself on their shoulders. So, and in some cases more than even you are, right? So that's awesome. So this has been fantastic to both of you guys. I really appreciate you guys. And I'm sorry you had to share a microphone just like Israel and I did. So this is awesome. It's fun. So thank you guys for attending this. The link, Raghu, for putting us on in his studio. Hopefully he'll get some more mics. Hint, hint. Sorry if you're listening to this. And then also thanks to Varick for the logo, Rick for the music, and then that's about it.
That's about it. I think so.
Yeah,
it's a wrap, Pete.
That's a wrap. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. August 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville is, for the first time, doing something called Jacksonville Tech Fest. And Israel and I have the absolute pleasure in launching the Society of Tech Explorers on that Monday and that Tuesday. So, Israel, just tell me a little bit about what the society is. When we were having the conversation, what did we want to do?
So, Pete and I have been tooling around with this idea for a long time. And as technology continues to advance faster than anybody is comfortable with acknowledging, keeping up with technology, and understanding how to play nice in the sandbox with technology instead of fearing the unknown, exploring the yet to come.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's also celebrating a lot of what's going on in Jacksonville, as well as St. Johns County, Alachua County, Northeast Florida. We're really trying to highlight some of those quote unquote game changers, if you will, putting together fantastic visions and missions to what they're trying to do and how they did it. So with that, Society of Tech Explorers, August 26th and August 27th at the Link in Nocatee, Florida. You don't want to miss that. So we can't wait to see you there.